Welcome to the Selling Show, where we unpack, repack, and break down exactly how CEOs, founders, and senior executives sell their ideas, point of view, and personal brand to the people who matter most. This is your host, David Newman, and you are in the right place if you want to build market eminence, amplify your influence, and attract high-value prospects, investors, partners, talent, and media opportunities with less chasing and more confidence. Let's go. So you have a website, you have maybe a CRM, you have maybe some back-end technology. Perhaps you're using HubSpot or something similar. But you know what? It's not generating results. So what I have for you today, is the queen of results. That's right, Ali Schwanke from SimpleStrat.com. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, David, for having me.
So, Ali, before we even jump into all the wonderfulness that we're going to talk about with basically, let's call it automating success. Tell me the Ali Schwanke story. How did you come to the work that you're doing today? And what were some interesting pit stops along the way?
Sure. Well, one of the ways that I like to describe this is imagine starting a business and imagine trying to get your first customer. And that's usually what happens when you step into a role as a marketing director. And marketing was one of my first roles that I had when I was early in my career. And when you have no CRM, you don't have a starting point. Like there isn't even starting blocks. You don't even have a track. Like no one's laid the track for you. And so when I was early in my career, I had to figure out how to build the list as well as build the content and build the place and the process and all the things. And at the same time, there's this whole sales that's going on over on this other side. And so trying to bring these two worlds together as a young marketer was just incredibly difficult. And at that time, it was about the time that Salesforce had come onto the scene. And so I was first privy to working with this tool, Salesforce. Again, sorry, I went to the dark side. We're now HubSpot. But working in Salesforce, that was my first deployment of a CRM, in about the early, 2010s arena. And it was at that time that I realized that this is essentially like your blueprint or your skeleton for your house. And once you have it, you can keep building on and sending the systems through that. And that's how you build your campaigns on top of that. And a lot of small businesses don't have the either experience or sophistication or the resources or people internally to make all of that work. And so that's ultimately like kind of what brought me to today. We started a YouTube channel in 2019 called HubSpot Hacks. And people started asking us if we could do work for them. And we started creating systems and processes and programs around that. And that's how SimpleStrat was born. And that's kind of what we're known for today.
And let's just go on a little bit of a detour because you and I are friends offline. And I know that you have this fantastic success story of building this inbound lead generation machine. So you and your team have built this firm, am I correct, without a single outbound call?
We don't have a sales team. No, we have no sales. So yes, we don't have a sales team. So all of our work has been inbound.
Amazing. So tell us what was the secret sauce there? Take us back to it was 2019 when you said, hey, you know what? We are just going to put a ton of value out in the marketplace. We're going to give people a mechanism to raise their hand, contact us, book a chat and see how and if we can help them. Tell us how that started from the drip to the stream to the river that it is today.
Yeah, well, the funny thing is, I wish I could go back and say I was so smart and I did all these things and here's exactly what happened. But the truth of the matter is, when you're creating inbound content and in solving any sort of problem, you're looking at it as, well, let's take a small experiment and let's see what happens. And you use every single one. Like I was pre-med in college, did this whole scientific process and kind of thinking like that was really where this thinking originated. But we said at the time, we were trying to sell marketing services. We wanted to sell content services around HubSpot. That was HubSpot go-to-market plan. That's what they taught every agency to do, is build this, quote unquote inbound engine. And it was about the time that, there were some videos out on YouTube and we thought, why there was a software we were using and it wasn't HubSpot, but it was something else that we were trying to bring them on as a client. And we told them, we said, your software is really good to use, but the learning curve is difficult. So if we created a whole content series to help people better use your software, we think that would drive leads for you. And they were like, oh, that's a cute idea, but no. And so we said, well, let's actually just demonstrate what this would be like. So we recorded some Loom videos, and those Loom videos were based on our pain of the content we went to go find and couldn't find online. So if you're creating inbound leads, number one, like if you were the customer going to find ways to do whatever, do you find it and does it solve and satisfy what you need? That was step number one. It didn't. So we created these looms. The looms got thousands of views within 30 days. And it was just, if those of you who don't know what loom is, it's a video that you record your screen. And it was just me like in probably my pajamas talking about some stuff. It wasn't high produced. And we said, what if we spun this off into a new channel? So we did that. We made this grandiose plan to get 100 subscribers the first month, David, and we got 72. So it wasn't even like a smashing success, but what we did is we kept at it. And then with that data, we slowly analyzed what was working, what wasn't working, what was working, what wasn't working. And only after we saw that did we double down on trying to drive leads from it. Our first goal was just, can people view it? Will they view it? Will they subscribe? Mm-hmm. And then we just developed a lead engine from that. And that's what's brought us to where we are today.
And you have also, either through that or through that plus some other SEO magic, you have really dominated your search engine optimization. Mm-hmm. When people search for, is it HubSpot Partner, HubSpot Help? What's the magic phrase or phrases that you come up always on the first page?
Yeah, we have a couple that we actually don't have a whole lot of traffic for those two terms because it's very, very, very competitive. And a lot of times HubSpot they have their own directory that they're kind of sending people to. But we tend to look for things like questions people would ask when they're considering inflection points. So, for example, what is HubSpot and what can I do with it? We have a video about that. We have a blog about that. Those tend to be ranked in the top two. How to use HubSpot sequences. We have how to use them, how to get better results, when to use them, why to use them. Our videos tend to be like, if you're in a meeting with a HubSpot guru, you look dumb if you ask the question, is that a sequence or a workflow? What's the difference? Wait, they're not the same thing. So we're creating content that I would call I'm scared to ask the question, but I need to know the answer. And now I trust you guys sort of content.
Well, let's start talking about, let's roll up our sleeves and let's kind of go into, let's say I'm a professional services firm and I am not very sophisticated with my digital presence, with my website, with my CRM. Maybe I don't even have a CRM, or maybe I have a CRM, but I don't really use it. And my team, even worse, my team doesn't really use it with any sort of rigor or discipline or consistency. And I'm coming knocking on your door because I've seen all your videos and I say, Allie, I think we need some help. What are the first couple of things that you would look at or ask to see what kind of a train wreck this poor David Newman sap actually is?
Yeah, the best CRM consultants that our team included don't ask anything about the tool. That you should not, no features, none of that stuff. And a lot of people want to just jump in and like, well, just teach me how to use this because I want to get more leads or whatever. And every question ultimately shakes out to they want to drive more revenue and grow their business or prevent revenue from slipping through the door, right? It all has to do with the outcomes. But a lot of things, come into that. So let's say in this situation, I would ask you something like, well, why did you buy a CRM in the first place? And usually one of the questions is, we wanted to be able to scale our business. Okay, great. That gives me insight. Tell me about what you're doing to scale your business. And so you find out a lot of the levers that people might be pulling might not be the right ones. So you buy a CRM, but you have no content strategy. Okay, great. What are you going to send out to people in your CRM if you have no content strategy? If you don't have a sales process defined, how are we going to set up your pipelines for you? You're never going to actually end up having a pipeline because you don't have stages. So it allows us to ask the questions that allow us to get down. It's kind of like going to the doctor and you say you have this problem and he's like, wait. We need to actually do a diagnostic on this. So we do have a diagnostic that we walk folks through. We've got a HubSpot growth assessment on our website if you want to go take that and see how you might be using the tool better. But a lot of times the reasons people get started with the CRM is they need to scale and it can't be in their head anymore or dispersed among 15 people, and they have to have consistency. Like we know that to grow our business. So that'd be the first place. But secondly, my biggest source of advice for people is I like if you use HubSpot. If you don't, I just need you to use a CRM. If you have to use it, like if you don't use your treadmill and you just hang clothes on it, it's never going to get you in shape. So what does it mean to use it? Step one would be, do you have all of your customer information centralized in one place? If you haven't, let's start there. So
Yeah.
that'd be my first one. And then secondly, do you have email tracking so that every conversation you're having ingoing and outgoing is being tracked and recorded in a place that everyone in the company can view? That's the second place of a CRM. And then the third one is to be able to have conversations around people in your sales process, what they're saying, where they're at, and how close they are to closing. Those are the first three things you'd need if you haven't used a CRM before.
And then big picture, I know one of the foundational things that you work on is something that we're hearing an awful lot about, and I don't think people really know what the heck it is, which is this concept of mapping out the buyer journey and journey mapping and figuring out, the ideal client profile and who they are and how they come in and what they're looking for, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way from, hi, I'm not sure who you are, to yes, here's my money, to, oh my God, I'm a huge raving fan and advocate and referral source, and I am never leaving. Talk to us about what is this whole buyer journey mapping, and why is it important, and how do your clients get massive value from the clarity that it reveals?
Yeah, I think there's two sides of this. So one is we'll call it the strategy side of what might be called a buyer journey or a customer journey. And that is like, what are the things, like you mentioned, that the stages someone goes through from, like, we'll call it suspect all the way to a customer. And those a lot of times are defined in what I would call a sales strategy and a content strategy. Because like you and I have seen this today, more than 80% of the sales process happens before you talk to a sales agent. You need a reason to have a CRM. That's one right there. You need one. But there's the other side, which is the buyer journey inside of your CRM or your marketing or sales tech stack. And that is, what are you going to call someone at that stage? What are the touch points called? How do you report on that? And how does all that data get set up so you can actually look at each slice of that journey the way the technology wants you to? So the way the analogy that I use is, you have the manual to the car, and then you have where you want to go in the car. And if you try to drive the car in reverse all the way to the grocery store, you will get there. It will take you a long time. You may hurt people or crush things in the process, but it will get you there. And a lot of times people are using their CRM in weird ways, and they're doing things that are counterproductive to the way HubSpot was actually designed for you to use it. So we take, in that process, we both explore your journey as well as take the way that HubSpot wants you to have your data run through the system, and make sure it's set up with that so you don't have, it's little things like, David, you can't be both a customer and a lead at the same time. You should not be able to be that. You need one pick list that has one value. And sometimes we see things where it's kind of anarchy and it's gotten out of control and it doesn't work.
Hold on. This one is so good, even I'm taking notes. Listen, are you a CEO, founder, or corporate executive ready to fix your market obscurity problem and gain the market eminence you and your company deserve? Cool. Book your private Market Eminence Roadmap call with me, and let's see what might be possible for you. The link is simple: doitmarketing.com/call. See you over there. Now, I gotta get back to taking more notes. Once we have that foundation in place, so much of this data is now trackable and AI enabled, and analytics, and there's analytics about the analytics. It can literally be an overwhelming amount of information, right? The marketing qualified leads, the sales qualified leads, all of this lingo and jargon. I know that another one of the things that you do is that you simplify this down to a dashboard or a series of dashboards where, from the CEO on down, we can see what's going on. We can get a snapshot of how's the pipeline doing. Are we ahead? Are we green? Are we yellow? Are we red? Talk to us a little bit about the importance of simplifying and really zeroing in on some of the key metrics that go into that dashboard.
Sure. Well, the great thing about HubSpot is there's a lot of reports built in, but what I see as a common challenge is that because you can, you do. Why not have 100 dashboards and 100 reports, right? And I think the challenge that we have is both business owners in today's environment as well as consultants is, again, just because you can doesn't mean you should. So start off of the platform, start with a whiteboard or what we call question-based reporting. So question-based reporting is where I ask a question that I need to know the answer to. I'll give you an example this morning. How many deals did we create in the month of December? Okay, that's a question. You can create a report to show that. But why do we ask that question? Well, the reason we ask that question is that shows us how many deals we need overall in our, equations for us to close for the month. If you do question-based reporting, you stop going and like hunting around to see which reports are cool, and you start looking at which ones will answer the business questions that I need to make the decisions that will move my company forward. And so in light of that, it's about the right questions and the right reports, not just kind of filling your dashboard with stuff that looks pretty and doesn't really tell you anything. Because I've been in too many calls where they've got a dashboard. I pull it up and I'm like, what's it telling us? Well, that's wrong. That's not really important. And I'm like, why are we doing this?
But Allie, there's a really cool donut chart on that report. I love the donut chart. What does it mean? I don't know, but it's pretty.
Yeah. Well, a lot of marketers, I'll be honest, I've been in these conversations myself where they say, well, we drove, so even our team, how many leads did we get this? Or how many new newsletter subscribers did we get this month? X. How many of those became meetings in the last 90 days? Oh. Okay, now you realize that there has to be a tie to revenue, and newsletter subscribers don't necessarily mean revenue, but there has to be a tie eventually. So out of that conversation, my question was, what are we doing to nurture these newsletter subscribers toward their next step in the buying journey? And that's the question that I need answered in the dashboard.
Yes. I love that concept of the question-based, right? It's like, is anyone even asking that question that this report answers?
But nope. It's cool.
Yes. But it's cool. Exactly. All right. I'm going to put 2 dirty words out there, and I want you to tell me why they're not dirty words, especially when it comes to professional services firms. Professional services firms and their marketing and their sales process. Of course, they don't use the word sales. They talk business development, client acquisition. Even sales is a dirty word in the professional services world. When we start talking about automation, bad word, and funnels, really terrible word. The pushback that you would typically get, Allie, we sell to CEOs, we sell to presidents, we sell to founders. We do not do automation. We can't risk the wrong person getting the wrong message, or dear F name, dear blank, right? Screwy things that they shouldn't be receiving. We are afraid that automation will screw things up, and that second thing, C-level people don't quote unquote go through funnels. So how do we allay those fears of a professional services firm who wants to do better with their marketing, who wants to have a predictable, healthy pipeline, but they're afraid of the boogeyman of automation and the misconception that quote unquote CEOs or fill in the blank don't go through funnels?
Yeah, there's a couple of things that will help. So one is self-awareness, and that is going through their inbox and realizing how many things they may have gotten that were most likely part of an automation. So, kind of peeling back the onion layers. But I think the first exercise that you bring up is great with anything in life that you don't want to do. Like there's usually a reason where, we evolved to look at the negative first as just a response to staying alive, right? So if we look at automation and the things that we don't like, literally write down all those things. Tell me why you don't believe in automation. And a lot of times they'll give you stuff like that. And I said, well, can you think of any use cases that would be helpful to automate? And if they don't come up with any, I say, tell me how often you're reminded to stay in touch with your high value referral partners. Oh, what if we automated a task every 90 days for you to send something valuable to them in the mail? Oh. And you start to then realize that automation can be task-based. It can be delegation-based. It can be putting them in a very specific thing. So you invite them to an upcoming event. So you start to identify these places because every business is different. But in consulting, especially in professional services, the biggest risk is automating what looks like a personal message and comes across as tone deaf because it was automated. Hi, David. We both work in marketing, and I am impressed by the work you've done at your company. Bull, like that is never true, always automated. So I think it's the fake automation. And if you can use automation to keep people top of mind, and you could also send out, so let's say every 3 months, you want to send a relevant case study to an executive and you style it that way. Hey, so and so, this is our every 90-day case study. They will probably appreciate that because it's got a business thing, but it's not meant to mimic that you wrote it personally.
Tell me a little bit about automate, and you touched on it here a second ago, but automation versus things that are overly templatized, obviously impersonal, tone deaf. So there's two, and I want to clarify perhaps just for the sake of our audience. There is general kind of email service provider, right? Broadcast emails that go to your entire list, like a newsletter or updates or what have you. And then there's emails that come from your CRM, which in theory, the CRM emails would be pseudo-personal or pseudo-personalized. How do we address what goes to the full list and our broadcast email strategy versus the emails that might go into some sort of CRM automation?
Right. Well, if you're in a tool like HubSpot, that tool is one and the same. So it's more about a segmentation strategy. So I would remove the tool from the discussion for the moment.
Okay.
And I would say, let's look at the different segments of the market that you serve. And let's go back to that buyer journey or that customer journey. And I'm going to say, if someone happens to be from your ideal client company, so let's say it's a company that fits in your ICP or your ideal client profile, but they're not a decision maker. Okay. Is there a way for you? Do you have a strategy to sell, like basically get that person involved to then earn the trust of hire people up?
Yeah.
If you don't, then maybe they just live on the newsletter forever and you don't care about them. They just keep getting your newsletter. If you have someone who's an ideal client, profile and they fit the decision maker, you probably have a different nurture strategy for that person. You need to find out what's important to them. Did they most recently join the company? So depending on how much data you have in your CRM, you can then put them into a very specific, really automation is it's less about personalization and more about relevance and context. Because if you come into our CRM, like you're going to start seeing this in our strategy this year. If you come into our CRM and get our email newsletter, most likely, depending on what content you interact with, that's going to be the type of content you continue to get from us, as opposed to the one size fits all. So I think that's the piece that has the biggest opportunity to improve as we go forward in 2025 and beyond is everyone is now saying AI bots can talk to everyone. It's highly personalized and all the things. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't take into account the human. Like it's the first of the year as we record this. I'm a business owner. I'm spending my time doing this. My kids probably just went back to school. All of that's important to take into account when you're emailing someone on the second asking for them to make a decision. I just got it back in my inbox, David. I'm not going to make a decision today. And AI is not going to take that into account.
Wait. We're not just going to listen to this episode. There are downloads, there are resources, there are links, there are bonuses waiting for you on this episode's page when you go over to doitmarketing.com/podcast. That's right, doitmarketing.com/podcast. Grab the notes right under this episode. See you over there. So you also mentioned something in passing that I want to sort of stop the tape, dig really deep into this. When we talk about CRM, everyone's thinking clients, prospects, leads, suspects. You said, hang on, there's a CRM use case for your referral partners and referral partner activation, referral partner cultivation. So thinking about who already has your prospects as their clients and vice versa. Your clients, what else do they buy that you and your company do not directly provide, but you've got the Friends of Ali strategy, or I have the Friends of David strategy. And, you should talk to our friend Bob about podcasting. If you want to build a new website, you should definitely talk to so-and-so. So let's talk about, just without software just yet, how do we think about that ecosystem that we want to build around our company where a referral partner has us in their back pocket and we have them in our back pocket, how do we start brainstorming what seats we need to fill?
So the first thing in your referral strategy, we're part of an organization together, David, you and I, that really helps people figure out their professional services strategy. And they have you go through your customer list and figure out, trends and patterns. You need to do the same thing with your referrals. So go through your referrals, who has referred business to you in the past, not just people that tend to throw your name around, but who actually sends you people who end up transacting business. Because if you don't have a strategy in place to thank them, whether you have a shared commission, whatever, like that's one thing. But if you don't have a process to thank them, you need to track that and make sure that that's accounted for. Two, look and see if there's any insights you can gather from those types of folks. So when we did this in our last referral breakdown, we found that people that are part of organizations that do fractional sales work, so fractional sales officers tend to be a really good referral source for us because they tend to recommend their clients do XYZ in sales, and they need to create accountability systems and tracking inside CRMs to do that. We're the partner to do that. So we make them look good because we can bring them on a webinar, so on and so forth. And so just like you have a strategy of keeping people that are top clients engaged, you need to set that up somewhere in your CRM, if it's a spreadsheet, whatever, to make sure when's the last time I talked to this person? And then do they know the types of results that you're driving for your current clients? If you release a new case study, it should be sent to them directly. David, I thought you might like to know, we just did this for a client. Not sure if you have anything like this, but people always ask, what kind of work do you do? Here's an example. If you have a similar case study you'd like to fire my way, let me know. So again, it's that communication strategy. The second, or I guess maybe I'm on the third piece here, is the third piece is, again, building out those lists of people you'd like to eventually partner with and use those as your own outbound and content campaign. So we're going to do the same. What Slack groups do those people belong to? What forums do they belong to? Who do they know? What conferences do they go to? All of that's just as important as your business development strategy, if not more.
I would argue more in 2025.
Yes.
Especially because it's gotten so noisy and so crazy. I mean, it's always been, this is kind of like 2022, it's noisier than ever. 2019, boy, so much noise. I'm telling you though, 2025, now that AI is an everyday commonplace thing, content, noise, blogs, articles, PDFs flying at everyone's head. Everyone's overwhelmed. There is more information and data than ever before, and there's less insight and guidance than ever before, because you can't tell the fakers and the not reputable service providers from the sterling, amazing, fantastic people like you, like your company. And it's like, okay, who am I going to trust? Am I going to trust a Google search, or am I going to trust someone I'm already doing business with? I like them. I value them. I give them a lot of money. When they say, hey, you have this other need, you should talk to my friend Allie. That person is going to book the call. That person is to some extent already pre-sold, because people are lazy. They don't want to shop around and talk to 10 people like me or 10 people like you, right? Bob says, I talk to Allie. I talk to Allie. I like what I hear. I'm probably going to engage you for something. And so I think that is really, really, really important. If you don't mind, I'm just curious. You don't need to use names or companies. But who is around your referral table? What kinds of companies? You mentioned fractional sales folks. Who are some of the other seats around that table that you refer business to, and vice versa?
Yeah, definitely anybody who's in a sales consulting or marketing consulting role like yourself. We find a lot of those folks tend to be good fits. If you happen to have a business coach, and that business coach is working with you to scale up, and there's a lot of scale up programs. EOS consultants tend to be another one, that do a lot of work like that. We do also see there's like specific groups inside of industries. So the IT industry has a very specific set of mastermind groups that tend to be, they use a very specific, we'll call it like market development process. And so we can actually set up your CRM to mimic what that specific market development process needs to look like. So then we find that trust and understanding is there. We're both, familiar with Duct Tape Marketing Group. They tend to be a really good place for us as well. So it's trying to find places where we can have a clear line of, we drive value in this way, and it's not going to overlap on you, and it's actually going to enhance your opportunity. And then I think the biggest thing that I encourage a lot of people to make, if you don't have this today, I would encourage you to think about making a page on your website or a PDF called "Who's a Good Referral for Me and What Have I Done Lately?" And that strategy is That's a page where if someone thinks, Allie, is this a good fit for you? How many times, David, have you had it where someone says, I want to refer someone to you, but I wasn't quite sure if it was a fit or if you were doing that anymore?
Oh, yes.
So that page forces you, or that PDF forces you to say, you know what? I knew you might have been thinking about this. David, I'm going to send you one page that'll help you. If you ever run across someone like this, here's a good, like, keep this in your back pocket. And it forces you to put on paper who's a good referral too.
You are an overwhelming content machine, you and the team. So I'm curious, is there a book in your future? Have we started down the path of authoring a book?
You know, it's on my goal list. It hasn't quite come to fruition yet. I think the amount of effort we've poured into our YouTube channel would be the amount of effort people pour into a book, most likely. We have about 185 videos on our YouTube channel. And we do host monthly webinars every month about what's new in HubSpot, how to get more value out of it, and all of that sort of thing. So I would say that with all of that being said, the thing that I have learned in doing all of this is just like a book too, David, is when you take the time to demonstrate your content, and you've done that in various publications, people go, oh, now I see it. It's like they don't trust you after the first blog or the second blog, but 6 months later, when all of your competitors have given up and you're still publishing, okay, all right, now I get it. So that's
this guy's in it for the long haul. He's not gonna give up giving me value. Well, let's talk about one more thing as we're landing the plane here, which I think some people have this question. And this is not necessarily how you work with your clients. This is about you and what you do at Simple Strat. So much value, so much resources, which we're going to talk about how people can get these resources. People would look at this and they would say, isn't Allie giving away too much for free? Like, she's so helpful, like radically helpful, radically generous. Couldn't some people just go do this on their own and figure it out? And isn't she losing business by being this gold mine of value? What would you say to that person who is asking that question?
I would say based on your business model, sure, the answer could be yes. I mean, if we wanted to sell a membership community and charge that way, we probably could get more value out of it. The way that we're currently positioned, this is the price of a business development person. Like, we're not paying a business development person or a team of business development people. We're, using content. I think the other thing is, so many times we underestimate how much engagement people have with our brand before they come to us with a question. And it not only has served us to, like, when people apply to work at our company, when we have open roles, they want to work here because they're familiar with our brand. And we're a small company. We're about 12 people. That's a remote team. I started the business. I live in Lincoln, Nebraska. I don't live in New York or LA. I'm in the place that people wonder if we have electricity. We do. I don't often tell us we're from here, but our consultants are all over. But I think the brand equity, I tend to be ahead of the market when it comes to things that make sense. And we're seeing a lot more small firms invest in brand and reputation and all of that now. And we've gotten ahead of the game. So we actually have more opportunities to monetize now that we've built the brand and we have leads coming in than we did and would have tried to sacrifice that at the start.
Yes. How smart. And I love the reframe of, you know what? The time, the energy, the money, the bandwidth that we're putting into this, it's what we're not putting into having the sales team and all the management and the care and feeding and the listening to calls and the motivation and the compensation. And oh my gosh, I mean, I'm guessing that your life is just so much better. Is that I'd rather feed the content machine, which is all digital and permanent, than feed the sales team machine, which is very unreliable, very human, and sometimes fleeting success with people that have had a revolving door with salespeople coming and going because they didn't perform. A good performing blog post, a good performing webinar recording will continue to perform well and bring you lots and lots of leads and lots of goodwill.
Yeah, we still get leads from a video that we published back in 2020. And some of the content there has been updated and replaced with newer videos. But at least at the time of this recording, YouTube does not take down, and they don't encourage you to take down old videos. They encourage you to modify those to send people to the new version of that. Yeah. But it's in their best interest to keep serving content so they can serve ads, so they can pay themselves. And, the world goes round.
Totally amazing. Well, Ali Schwanke, I know people are going to want to get connected and stay connected to more simple strat brilliance. Where can we send them? What links should go in the show notes?
Sure. Well, if you want any of the resources we talked about here on the podcast, we've got checklists, we've got guides, we've got how to do reporting. All of that's available over on simplestrat.com, SIMPLESTRAT.com. If you Google HubSpot hacks and look for the YouTube channel, you will find us over there. And then if you're a podcast listener like this, there's a podcast called Marketing Deconstructed that I run. And a lot of that's talking about the strategy around the things that are in marketing, because a lot of times, since we don't provide marketing specific services inside the client engagements anymore, we now can send them to that podcast and get educated, because we have, again, partners like yourself where people come in and help in that area.
Awesome. Well, Ali, you are a rock star and I appreciate you. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for the invite. It was fun.
And that wraps up another episode of The Selling Show. Hey, tell you what, if you like us, rate us and review us on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, tell a friend, go grab the notes and downloads and extras at thesellingshow.com. See you next time.